All right, so that was fun. I had gotten a phone call from my doctor's office and had every intention on letting it go to voicemail, but then I remembered that then I have to call my doctor's office back. Then I have to wait 2 to 3 days for them to call me back. And then if I miss a call, I'd have to call them back. And then they would have to call me back in 2 or 3 days. And it just turns into like 3 weeks to get one question answered. So thank you for letting me take the phone call. I'm going to jump right back into how do we end up with this Marxist philosophy being a pervasive culture in public education. It really came from something known as Operation Paperclip. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a confirmed CIA operation that the goal of which was to bring the top Nazi scientists into our higher institutions, basically so the other side didn't get them. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. We set them up with a really great and wonderful life here. But we did bring over some of the absolute worst of the worst. Many of the advances that we see in modern medicine began with really gruesome experimentations that were conducted in these concentration camps by these Nazi doctors. And a lot of the medical knowledge that they brought over did eventually transfer over into American healthcare. We know not only that that the father of modern gynecology in this country tortured slave women to perfect his technique. We know that the American government has experimented on African American men in the Tuskegee experiment. We know that that the government has been utilizing people for CIA operations for as long as the CIA has existed, and even before then, when it was known as some other name. So what happens is we brought these doctors, these top scientists into the field. And what it did is it turned those fields in a direction towards the same communist socialist philosophy that was the downfall of the Nazi regime in the first place. And so if we're not willing to take a look at what types of Marxist beliefs are pervasive in the fields of education and healthcare, then we're not really going to get anywhere in this country. I want everybody to research Operation Paperclip. I am just a crazy lady on the internet. Oh, I wish you could. So it won't let me type certain words either. So that's why, like, sometimes I will type something like this. So you can be creative in the way that you use symbols, dashes, slashes, special marks. I used to know the little thing for the, in Spanish, to make the ends, the fancy ends. Daniela, for example, my good friend Heidi's daughter, Daniela. So anyway, I get a little bit creative about how to spell things, and I think that's why. I definitely don't want to type anything with the word Nazi in the title. It will absolutely be banned for sure. And I'm certainly not here to praise or condone anything that they've done. This is, if anything, it is an anti-Nazi video. I would think it would be boosted, but that's not how that works. We're still trying to deal with those other things. So, now I have 5 prescriptions ready for pickup. I wish Walgreens would figure out exactly what it is. Now, when we're talking about Pol Pot's regime, we're talking about 1.5 to 2.7 million people that he and his men were responsible for the genocide of. It says the men oversaw such tortures as forced labor under the threat of death, suffocation by plastic bags, and the extraction of toenails and fingernails. In other instances, Muslims were forced to eat pork, and ex-government workers were killed by electrocution with telephone cables. Now there might be a couple government workers that I might not feel bad about being electrocuted, but that doesn't mean I condone it. And it certainly doesn't mean that I want these people to decide which politicians, because it's always okay if they're not picking on your side. You know, it takes like a lot to stand up for when it's not the popular side. Muslims were forced to eat pork, government workers killed by electrocution. But what they did mention is all of the people that, the thing is, when communism or socialism invades a country. It is not just anti-communist. Everybody goes down with the ship. Like these same liberals, these what I would call, and it doesn't, I don't mean it in an integrating way, what I would call the intellectual elite. The intellectual elite are just so convinced that we're blind to what is happening. They've convinced themselves that they're the good guys. I don't want them making the decisions of who's going to be electrocuted and suffocated with a plastic bag. Like, can we not let anybody be in charge of that? Let's find all the different people that they killed, because that's what I found absolutely interesting. I really had assumed that it would be, this is from a website called allthat'sinteresting.com. Yeah, interesting what you mentioned here, but you just, many lives in World War II. Right. And you know what? I've actually heard that. I'm certainly open to learning about that. I think that we have been, and see, here's part of my question everything philosophy. I am not beyond questioning what I have been told and what I believe in my heart of hearts about what happened. I only know what I believe because I read it somewhere and somebody in a position of authority told it to me. That doesn't mean it's factually accurate. So if you think I'm misinformed, I am more than open to learning more about any topic or subject from pretty much any source, as long as it's, not some like crackpot on the street. Is communism. Yeah, interesting. I'd really like to hear more about that. I don't know in what way. I know there is a group. It starts with KHAN, and you probably can't type it in either, right? Because they're going to censor that. But there is a group of, let's say, an ancient order of Orthodox Jews that still practice things like blood sacrifice and ancient cabals and those things. So I do have a little bit of tertiary background knowledge on the topic, but I'm certainly nowhere near educated. I guess I'm thinking about it more in terms of, we do have evidence of the fact that we brought those the Nazis in from after World War II, and so if that's not a problem. Oh, I do. I actually do. I actually just signed up for Telegram. And I guess I'll have to try and post that in link next time I get a chance. Or if you want to post your link, I'll check it out when I'm done this live stream and try to link up with you, because I am interested. Well, I'll hook up with you or whoever. If there's a channel you want to direct me to, I am absolutely interested in hearing more about that. But what I found interesting in particular about this article that discusses communism and Pol Pot's role in the genocide there is the atrocities began in 1975 after Pol Pot and his communist forces took over Cambodia, dubbed it Year Zero, which is, they did this in North Korea as well. When the original dictator took over 3 generations back, don't know his name, don't care about his name because he's genocidal maniac too. Anyway, they did this in North Korea where they reverted everything's back, like everything is year one. Nothing big, nothing even existed before their dictator was born. Took over Cambodia, dubbed it Year Zero, reverted the country into a classless agrarian society. So you're basically you're the farming poor, starving farming poor. From there, the Khmer Rouge forces set their sights on all perceived enemies of their new state. Their new state, the one they wanted. These are the enemies. Anti-communists. I would count myself among the anti-communists. Intellectuals. I don't know that I would count myself there. Vietnamese, Chinese, Cham, Muslims, Buddhists, and any and all groups that might oppose the radical division. Now, this again is back in 1975, but I am sure that there are now actively Christian populations in there, as well as Muslim and Buddhist. The types of people that will be persecuted if the Marxists get what they want is terrifying. I don't think I would make it too long anyway. The truth of the matter is, if it all really goes downhill, then I don't know, man. Just roll me next door to a funeral home. I'll be all right. A decent life insurance policy, so there's that. Okay, so now look, I got the app, and I'm gonna Now, this says Patriot Grill. So I'm just confirming with you. Is this grill or did you mean girl? But I'm going to look it up either way. I'm just going to do it now because I would prefer to know. I got this to follow the Informed Mama as somebody that I follow. She is a medical freedom fighter in California. So she's out in the West Coast. So I know she is very much aware of the current trends in public education in California and the recall of Governor Newsom and medical freedom and advocacy out there. Patriot Grill. Okay. I think I do see it. Cool. Okay. All right. I'm going to join it. I got you. Okay. Allow.
So you're not like officially Proud Boy, even though you're like Proud Boy Prospect. So yeah, so there are people, you know, I mean, you're a Proud Boy if you believe in that idea of the Western chauvinist, venerating the housewife, and not apologizing for help build.
Oh, so is this like, yeah, see, I just don't know enough about it, like how this even works. So I thought that you had to.
Being a man or being a male chauvinist, which I don't have to.
All right. Interesting. So it's like a video chatting app too. That's super cool. I've been following. So I follow Anomaly, who I think is pretty good. Not much into the music. I mean, it's just not my style. It's okay, but it's just not for me. I follow Anomaly on there. I also follow. Who else am I following? I follow Donut. I think he's pretty good on BitChute. I occasionally find the Salty Cracker to be entertaining. He's a little crude for me. I mean, I like to drop an F-bomb now and then, but he just he hates women. I don't like women that hate men, that like just rag on men all the time. I don't like men that just rag on women all the time. It's just like, it's unattractive to me. So as long as we understand that these Nazis have taken over in the fields of healthcare and education, hopefully people can start to turn a skeptical eye. And if you're involved in one of these fields, I know that you got there out of the goodness of your heart. I don't doubt for a single second that a woman that dedicates 4 to 8 years of her life investing her time and education in the best years of her life into obtaining a master's degree and beginning a career in education, you don't get there because you're a bad person. So when I suggest that there are touches of communism and Marxism that are pervasive in your field, I am not saying that there is something definitively wrong with your character that landed you in that field. What I'm saying is it's time to turn a critical eye and for more people to stand up and step out and to be vocal. Now, I understand, especially in healthcare and medicine, I don't know why it is like this, but yeah, random combos. I don't know why it is like this, but it seems as though the fields of education and nursing, because they are female-dominated fields, tend to have more of that like cattiness and kind of mean girl behavior. Like for an educator, for a teacher to stand up to her union and say, oh, well, you know, this isn't right, or this isn't factually even inaccurate if it's medical information. To even do that is a career risk for that teacher. So perhaps the best thing for that teacher is one-on-one advocacy and reaching out to her political representatives. You know, I have a friend who is, again, this is who I mean. This is someone who dedicated many, many years of her life to teaching and to education, and went into a lot of debt to get the education, to go into education. And now she's trying to raise a family, and like they're barely eking by, and she works like a dog. And she is beginning to really see the problems in her field. And I know that's difficult for her. I know it is. I really have sympathy for the position she's in, that she finds herself in a field like that. And you know, I'm in a position to be home with my children, and I know that that is very much a blessing. I don't take that for granted. I'm thankful that that's the way this all fell out, because it certainly could have been much, much worse in terms of my health and my husband being able to provide primarily on his own. I do work from time to time, but I am just mostly working part-time now. The way hospitals are not allowing doulas into the room, it's mostly home births, and I'm fine with that. And there's just not a lot of home births. So that's the way that the chips fall. I'm not ignorant to the fact that it's a blessing to be home with my children. And I really feel for people that find themselves stuck in these fields, where maybe they're just starting to kind of see through what they thought the field was going to be. And it's just not. So again, none of this is meant to be as a condemnation to anybody that has chosen to go into that field. I do want to also touch briefly on healthcare. I have a very, very unhealthy skepticism of doctors and medicine in general. That is because I am a sick person who sees lots of doctors and is on a lot of medicine in general. And I have been for many years. When all of this 2 weeks to slow the spread happened last year, one of my bigger fears is that a prescription, the closing down of prescription drug factories could make getting medicine harder. And so if the proverbial shit really did hit the fan and, I couldn't just go to Walgreens to pick up my medicine, then I would feel a little unsure about how much longer I'd be around. And that's just the harsh reality for anyone that is medication dependent in that way, including diabetics whose medication has tripled, and gas. Don't get me started. Gas prices have doubled, but insulin's tripled. The fact that we can still, I guess, obtain these medications is good, but it is crippling people at a time when they are already stretched and stressed financially. My concern with doctors began when my youngest child had her 2-month-old jabs. I only remember now in looking back on it, but I can see and connect all the dots. I remember my mom telling me when I was a baby, back in 1981 or 2, I had a pediatrician back where we lived, and I had gone and received my 2-month-old shots. And what happened after that is that I screamed for like 3 days. And screamed and didn't sleep. And my mom obviously called my pediatrician. My pediatrician said, bring her in right away, and instructed my mom not to give me any more. That was DTaP. So I think at that point it was the pertussis component that they were worried about, but it was highly associated with food allergies and with allergic reaction. Now that what they termed back then the pertussis scream, it's actually encephalitis. It's swelling of the brain. The screaming is from the agony and discomfort and panic that the infant is feeling when their brain is literally swelling and on fire. So this was swimming around in the back of my head during this incident, but I was so focused on taking care of Grace that I really didn't put 2 and 2 together until later. I had taken her to get her shots, and she slept on the way home, her 2-month shots. We got home and she started screaming, and she screamed for like 72 friggin' hours. She didn't sleep. She would nurse and scream, nurse and scream, nurse and scream, nurse and scream. And that's all it was. And frothy, poopy green diapers and nurse and scream, nurse and scream. And, I called the doctor's office and they told me that was normal. I knew it wasn't normal. I had already butted heads with this doctor's office because I'd had Grace at a birth center, and they said that I had to have her seen within 48 hours. And I just wasn't up to it because, my vagina was torn open from pushing a large baby through it. And so I didn't feel like carting her in the heavy fucking car seat to the doctor's office for them to give her a shot and tell me she's fine. I fucking know that. Don't get me started. I'd already had my problems at the pediatrician's office, but it was the way they completely blew off those concerns. Again, this is information that is easily verifiable. There is something known as the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Fund. because you are not allowed to, you cannot sue vaccine manufacturers. They are liable from any and all death and destruction that their products cause. The doctors told me it was normal and encouraged me to give her more shots, and it just wasn't going to happen. So we switched doctors' offices after that. We moved to a family practice doctor that was a little more friendly. And you know what? I even did some shots after that because I did want to. There were some things I was concerned about, and looking back on it, I wouldn't have even bothered to do that. Again, what I think parents should do, like I hesitate to tell any parent what they should do. The one and only piece of advice that I really encourage parents to think about is if you're going to a doctor's appointment with like a newborn and they're receiving, it's usually 4 jabs and an oral vaccine. But that's 5 doses. That's not 5 diseases because you have like DPT, you have some combination shots in there. So they're getting 5 different vaccines against, I think it's 7 to 8-ish different pathogens. I am concerned that could be overwhelming to a neonate's untested immune system at only 2 months old. And if there is a reaction, how are you, as the parent and primary caretaker, supposed to figure out what they're reacting to so that you can prevent it from happening again? And isn't that kind of your job? I think it's easy to go ahead and believe doctors when they tell us that everything's going to be fine, especially when we've been raised to believe that they are altruistic, because most of our friends that we know that went into medicine are in fact altruistic because they do want the best for people and they think that they can provide a level of care that's beneficial, and that's great. But there are aspects of medicine that are nothing more than genetic experimentation. I would encourage people to think about what happens when we inject the DNA of boys and girls into very young and developing bodies that then have children themselves that then get injected with the same thing. We are literally subjecting ourselves and our children to genetic mutations, to genetic abominations, things that should not be possible. And the frequent excuses that I hear from people that like to just throw the anti-vaccine label out there without doing any investigating themselves, most of those people that throw out those, well, you know, you can eat an apple and there's aluminum in apple, like that to me just demonstrates a complete lack of understanding and a complete willingness to try to understand. So these are the kind of things the doctor is saying to me. Literally use that example, eating an apple and that there's aluminum in apple. And then I had to mention like the whole blood-brain barrier and the difference between injection and ingestion, and they're like 2 completely different systems. Yes, dear. All right. She wants me to like come all the way downstairs to help her look for a book. Oh boy. I'm almost done this cup of tea and I'm going to have to go. No, they really don't care. The bottom line is that doctors only make money if they see patients, and they only have patients if people are sick. Promoting natural immunity and good quality natural immune systems and good health and exercise and not isolating yourself and all of these things are what make us healthy. Shots are not ever going to make anybody healthy. They never have and they never will. They may confer a level of immunity and protection, and you may feel as though that is worth it. And I 100% respect your right to do whatever you feel like is in the best interest of you and your children. And my only thing is just like, can I have the same thing? Because sometimes the my body, my choice people are like a little fuzzy when it comes to shots, you know? A little bit of intellectual honesty and consistency, I think, is all any of us are really asking for, especially after a year of this bullshit. Am I right? So, country girl, listen, I am going to bounce. I hope your boy's okay, Teresa. I really do. Let me know if you need anything. I'm here. I got all the medicines. And if you need a little, I got stuff for moms too. Just let me know. I really, really hope you guys stay safe out there. I would be less concerned about a scamdemic and more concerned about the communism. That's all I have. Oh, you're a live streamer too. Oh, cool. Listen, I'm going to have to hook up with you then. Did you just change your profile picture? Yeah. Very nice. All right. Yeah, cool. We'll definitely have to hook up. I just joined you on Telegram. I don't have anything on Telegram yet. This is all I'm doing right now. And that's enough. I can, with 3 kids, I can like barely manage it. So it would be cool to hook up. I am definitely interested in learning more from people that know more than me, because I'm sure there's a hell tons out there. An alligator. Okay. Well, that makes sense. It looked like maybe like a boar or a hippo. I wasn't sure what was happening. But then I was like, a hippo's not really in the country. I got confused. Anyway, I wanted to jump back on that Telegram channel. It actually sounded like they were getting into some really interesting topics. I hope to catch up with you guys again soon, in a day or two. I got to run to the pharmacy, pick up some medication, and get a book, because I don't know. I guess that's what I do now. I get things and I buy things and I go places and I'm YouTubing. All right, girl. Have a good one. Bye, guys. All right. Let's get this going.